Let's bring in public defender and ABC News contributor Brian Buckmire for more analysis on this. Brian, thanks for being here. You know, we've seen so many Minneapolis police officers now, from trainers all the way up to the chief, say they believe Chauvin did not follow training on May 25th and that the force used was excessive. So why does the prosecution need this outside expert from the LAPD?
Yeah, so Diane, this outside expert is someone who does this for a living, that they examine not only on the state level in California, but also on the national level. His resume kind of speaks for itself. And he is the one that Eric Nelson's going to have a little bit of a harder time to make the arguments that he made with previous police witnesses, that use of force and evaluating whether or not it's excessive is not really your job. Now, this Sergeant Jody Steger, it is his job. And it's going to be very difficult for the defense to get around his testimony.
Now, defense attorneys have tried to steer testimony more toward Floyd's drug use and the impact of the crowd around at the scene. They also pointed to some moments where Chauvin's knee was not on Floyd's neck, but on his back or his shoulder. How important is all of that to trying to establish reasonable doubt?
It's extremely important. As a defense attorney, you want to point to alternatives as to why or how someone died in this case. Remember, cause of death, it hasn't really come up as yet because the medical examiner hasn't taken the stand. But we heard on opening statements, that is going to be the crux of the defense's arguments, to expand past what the prosecutor is saying this storyline is and found reasonable doubt between those cracks.
And Eric Nelson also had a big moment yesterday, and we saw this at the very end of Alex's piece when he got medical support coordinator Nicole McKenzie to start talking about excited delirium. We know now that she's coming back as a defense witness. So what does that tell you, and how important do you think that testimony was?
So it tells me a couple of things, actually. One, if you also heard, the judge told Nicole McKenzie to come back on Tuesday of the following week. So like this coming Tuesday. That tells me in scheduling, we may see the prosecution's case end sometime this week or early next week. So we're getting a bit of a scheduling tip there. But it also shows that the defense believes that her testimony on direct and cross-examination was so beneficial to them that he wants to bring her back, probably prep her, ask her some more follow-up questions, and see if he can get her on the stand in his case to provide more information that is beneficial for their trial.
And Brian, it seemed at least so far on cross-examination that the defense hit on 2 points with her. One, hearing her say that it's extremely difficult to perform her emergency duties if there's a crowd of people around you shouting at you. And then also this whole topic of excited delirium.
Yeah, so he brought up two good points, and to his credit, because there's not a lot of good facts in this case for a defense attorney, was able to get that information out. But on redirect, the prosecution was able to say, well, excited delirium isn't really a medically sound theory. There's also the fact that we don't see George Floyd having some sort of superhuman strength in lifting these officers up. And I think the fear for the defense is when it comes to summation time, anything he says, because he's going to be able to sum up first. The worry is, as a defense attorney, is the prosecution going to be able to answer all of those questions after he's done on summation and clear up any reasonable doubt? The prosecution's been doing a pretty good job of this back and forth. The defense may have to find something a little bit stronger to stick.
And we're expecting to hear from more law enforcement experts today, possibly before they get into the medical experts on Floyd's cause of death. What does that prosecution need left from these testimonies?
Yeah. So Sergeant Jody Steger from the LAPD, his testimony was cut short yesterday. Looking at some of the pool reporter's notes, it appears that maybe the lawyers saw that the jurors were kind of nodding off. So I would expect that they're going to readjust their tactic, maybe try to minimize some of the more technical testimony from these officers. I would also expect that we would see more officers, but more in line with the investigation of this case. Remember, we're just seeing experts talking about the use of force, not necessarily what they found through the investigation. And of course, as we've all been talking about, the medical report and the medical examiner is going to be taking the stand sometime soon to talk about that evaluation, that report that they made.
And Brian, you're talking about, a lot of the technical parts and jurors nodding off. I mean, even as someone who's analyzing every second of this case, it is sometimes hard to continue to pay attention when they go through every technical detail of everyone they're putting on the stand. Why do they go through all of that if they're trying to hold the jury's attention?
Yeah, it's a stylistic question. It's not my preference. you've got to captivate people in order for them to really pay attention and listen. But oftentimes, especially with prosecutors, their job is to just tick off the box. And so what they're doing is saying, okay, I need to get this fact in, this fact in, this fact in, this fact in. And it may be boring to kind of use an analogy to collect all the paint and the paint brushes and all the material that you need to paint that beautiful picture. But the prosecution is hoping that after they collect all that material, in summation, they can paint a beautiful picture that leads them to the verdict they want, that being guilty.
Yeah, we have been hearing from our reporter Kenneth Moten on the scene, who's getting info from the pool reporters inside the courtroom, that at certain times the jury does seem, not to be paying as close attention. But you hear when those key moments happen, the jury kind of perks up and they start listening and they start taking notes. So the prosecution does seem to be getting the points across where they want to, but they're certainly backing into those at several points in this case. Brian Buckmire, always great to have you. Thanks for your analysis.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.